This episode is brought to you by Obsession. Focus Features and Blumhouse invite you to the most shocking and unsettling big screen horror event of the season. Obsession. Everyone wishes for someone to love them, to choose them, to need them. But what happens when you get more than you wished for? On May 15th, experience director Curry Barker's nightmarish vision that has critics and audiences absolutely obsessed. It's twisted and sinister, brilliant and insane. You have been warned. Obsession is blood-soaked nightmare fuel, and with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 96% fresh, it's destined to become an instant horror classic. The best horror movie of the year is Obsession. Be careful who you wish for. Obsession, rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent. Only in theaters May 15th, with special engagements in Dolby. Rotten Tomato rating as of April 24th, 2026.
Hello, and welcome to Scare You to Sleep. I'm your host, Shelby Novak, and I'm here to tell you a bedtime story. This week, I have quite a doozy of a story for you. It's refreshingly original and something I would actually love to see a movie version of someday. This is by returning author Dan Dellechiaie. You may remember his story, Void with Teeth, from episode 284. Tonight's story was featured in the 5th issue of Dug Up magazine. You can also check out more of Daniel's work on his website, dadell.com. I'll have Dug Up magazine and all of Daniel's links in the show notes. So without further ado, this is Deicide Begets Hell. They came as a god and left as a ghost. 200 years of techno-theological domination gone with the autumn breeze. But not before they turned our history books into scar tissue. The god had co-opted all monotheisms, preaching peace and progress through obedience. Their human disciples were granted a modicum of their might, and soon, the miracles had a price. They demanded everything, and our ancestors gave. Those who didn't ever go to be ancestors. One day their sleek cities stopped glowing. Skyscrapers that towered into space toppled, flattening mountains long stripped of their precious ore. A rogue disciple preached that God had been assassinated while tending to another flock. The disciples who couldn't run fast enough were thrown by their former slaves into the mines that gaped in the earth like screaming mouths. That first night of freedom was lit by fire. By dawn, the mines were clogged with the mind colonizers. An explosive act of revenge came at noon. Half of the now free population was driven to self-destruction. The other half were kept alive, but were surrounded by craters. They used to say that there are no atheists in foxholes. Now we say that no believers stand on the edge of a mass grave. A new society was scavenged from the ruins of the former autocracy. My parents' generation had stitched up the world. I could relax in an office for most of the year, not climbing mountains searching for snow-blind lunatics with banned holy books strapped to their chests. But everyone gets called up. The book goes back on the shelf. The price for a scarred but breathing planet. My squad had done little but exile cultists, nowhere habitable. The faithful always chose a slow death. They'd rather be a survivor than die an invisible martyr. They preached to dust and ice. My squad's latest mission was easy. Exile a prophet of the slain god. A simple kidnapping. That's all. It should have been as easy as wrapping a present. The prophet was a corpulent corpse who dubbed himself Nephil. His faith was the Old Testament filtered through a blood-soaked paper shredder. He claimed to be in direct contact with the god's spirit. I was my squad's leader and documenter. My job was to control the narrative. I was selected because I set up libraries and far outposts. I'm also a terrible liar, and my government was the first in history to actually want nothing but the truth. My squad needed proof of extermination, but cameras weren't allowed. Cameras made martyrs. An image makes more believers than a miracle. Cults sprouted from fake photos of interactions with the god's abandoned disciples. But a rumor could be redacted with 6 feet of dirt. My bomb technician was called up while she was teaching her high school chemistry class. Nogoff took pleasure in blowing things up. It was at odds with her languid aura. We only half joked that she slept standing up. Rumor had it that she'd leveled a cathedral with an explosive the size of a thumbnail. Our human battering ram was a mailman. Or at least Tabe was currently a mailman. He was constantly getting fired for insubordination, only to be moved somewhere else due to his friendship with a bureaucrat. A committed anti-theist, he liked exiling cultists with a black leather rope. I knew so little about our new marksman, Oko. She was a farmer and had replaced a sniper who'd been devoured by a cannibalistic cult. She was the best shot in the area, though wasn't officially ranked. She preferred the prestige of silence. That was my squad. 4 partisans against 1 prophet. We were deployed to a rocky desert. Our self-driving armored van felt like a gust of winter wind. "Stop shivering," Tabe snapped, pushing my elbow away. "You're gonna set off a flashbang." "Only way she'd do that is if they were strung loosely across your chest like a bandolier of garlic," Nogoff muttered. Oko put on black metal to turn off our fear responses and to get us to stop bickering.
"Your feeble cries will not be heard, since your god lies dead and buried in the ruins of the pearly gates."
A great shot and a great DJ. I headbanged until Tabe shoved me again. Nogoff pointed a pistol at his head. "Your bureaucrat won't save you from eternal sleep," she sighed. "Both of you, quit messing around," I said. "Save it for the prophet." Oko chuckled. Another standoff might have broken out if we hadn't arrived at the compound. The compound had been a food processing plant until the locals got too scared to show up for work. What scared them? Well, I'd hate my job if I showed up every morning and found scorch marks and blood everywhere. The local committees chalked it up to rebellious teens, but rebellious teens are fickle fuckers and move on to new pranks. Only the religious keep spinning the barbed wheel. The compound had 4 sections: a hallway, a shop floor, a kitchen, and a garage. Drone recon revealed that the cars were gone, but that no one had left for a month. I hoped for a mass suicide. Less cleanup. No, the same. We'd burn it down anyway. The rescued survivors would make it a pilgrimage site if we didn't. The locals would be happy to see it gone. A cursed patch in the desert. The silver sky and golden sand surrounding the compound were muted, like they needed to be shined. A compound's gates should be locked, guarded, or at the very least, closed. Nephel's pearly gates were wide open. I don't like this, I said. Don't be a wimp, Tabe said. Nogoff inspected the gate for tripwires. Oko scouted the area through her infrared scope. Their all clears arrived simultaneously. If there's no one inside, Tabe said, I'll buy us all around. Around in a dime bag, Nogoff yawned. I asked Oko to stand 15 feet behind us when we stormed the entrance. Pick off anyone not begging for help, I said. That the government speaking, or you? Oko said. Every one of us is the government, and these basket cases have terrorized enough people. Oko nodded, but she was unconvinced. I would have taken Nogoff for the crypto believer. Now I was nervous about placing Oko behind us, in range. But I couldn't retract an order 30 seconds before we rushed in. Nogoff lazily stuck C4 on the front doors. They were unlocked too, but I wanted them to know we were here, for the poor souls to rush out with their hands up, for the rats to scurry from their holes. Tabe shuffled back and forth. I almost let him smash a window to release some anger, but he needed all of it for the assault, so I let him stew. With the last charge in place, I raised my fist. My squad raised theirs. I looked over my shoulder to see Oko raising her fist so high that she was punching firmament. I dropped my fist. The metal doors screamed. No followers answered its call. Nephil, buddy, these are for you! Tabe laughed as bullets lit up the dark hallway with thin streaks of light. But these flames drew no haggard moths. The hallway was full of decayed trash. Everything was torn, burning, blood-drenched. Puddles of fetid black water exhaled gray steam. The punched-in walls were stuffed with green embers, brown muck, sizzled on the undying smolder. Its red smoke reeked of a kitchen fire. Shredded metal everywhere, silence, except for Tabe's bullets. Tabe was going to buy that round after all. My ear mic buzzed.
Raz,
Oko said.
Stop Tabe right now.
Easier said than done.
No, like now. I'm picking up something odd.
I'd ordered Tabe to hold his fire. He took 2 more pot shots before he stopped. What the fuck? Nogoff shouted. Nogoff was gone until a flaming sword illuminated the hallway. Its wielder wasn't a woman. Not anymore. On its back were 2 metal shards held in place by rusty wires. It reeked of rotten oil. Its fire sword sputtered and geysered. Its wings scraped against the burning walls, releasing a cracked falsetto. The beauty of flight never crossed its creator's mind. Its legs moved without rhythm, like it had never learned to walk. Its face was stained with feathers and viscera. Its ears were torn off.
Angels!
Oko gasped. Oko shots whizzed by my ears. The wings roared when they were pierced. The angel raised its flaming sword. I fired at its ragged claws, but the sword went higher. Nogoff muttered a curse behind closed teeth. Ping, click, smack. The angel tore at its scarred face. There was a sticky grenade in its eye. Nogoff slid between its legs and threw herself against a wall. The explosion sent the sword clattering to the ground. I held out a hand to Nogoff. Fucking zealots! Nogoff muttered, swatting away my hand. Tabe patted her on the back, checking for wounds.
When were you gonna tell us they had a metal fetish?
Tabe asked.
I didn't know,
I said.
They must be
Salvaging!
Oko shouted into the mic and fired down the smoldering hallway. 4 more flaming swords burned the air. My throat constricted. I fell to one knee. Soon, the floor was a river of human decay.
Shit, these fucks are ugly,
Tabe said, putting 2 in every forehead. The angels wore human pelts over their sharp skeletons, gray as a bad dawn.
We're supposed to save some of them,
Oko reminded Tabe.
I don't think they want our help,
Nogoff said. Once we were sure the hallway wasn't full of hidden angels, we slunk into the shop floor. It used to be a chain of workstations, but the tools were missing. Tabe found a pot of metal pocked with gravel.
Someone forgot their lunch,
he said. I'd hate to get that poured on me, Nogoff yawned. The shop floor's air was diseased. Mucus, excrement, blood. The ceiling was adorned with a swirling whirlpool of dirty rags. The spiral was a bottomless puddle of stained cotton. Tabe took pot shots at the sloshing ceiling, but nothing fell.
This episode is brought to you by Obsession. Focus Features and Blumhouse invite you to the most shocking and unsettling big screen horror event of the season. Obsession. Everyone wishes for someone to love them, to choose them, to need them. But what happens when you get more than you wished for? On May 15th, experience director Curry Barker's nightmarish vision that has critics and audiences absolutely obsessed. It's twisted and sinister, brilliant and insane. You have been warned. Obsession is blood-soaked nightmare fuel, and with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 96% fresh, it's destined to become an instant horror classic. The best horror movie of the year is Obsession. Be careful who you wish for. Obsession, rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent. Only in theaters May 15th, with special engagements in Dolby. Rotten Tomato rating as of April 24th, 2026.
Oko threw flares into the far corners. The room burned red. Against the back wall was a giant altar of gnarled furniture. Coils of wire littered with scraps of flesh surrounded the altar like mangled chess pieces. I hope to never meet what they prayed to.
Do you think they sacrificed themselves?
Nogoff asked, searching the altar for traps. That's the best we can hope for, I said. We knew from experience that a mass suicide left its lifeless shrapnel everywhere. The desert surrounding the compound was empty. There were no coyotes feasting on flayed flesh. We were about to move on to the kitchen when the altar screamed. It was a language I spoke. Fear. A rusty table covering the altar shook. Tabe and I lifted the mottled lid. Oko tried to help, but I ordered her to be ready to fire. The screams grew louder. Something pounded the lid. We cracked it open, freeing a dark triangle. Brown dust floated up to the ceiling spiral. A pale claw grabbed my wrist. I dropped the lid on it. Oko shot off its index finger. It screamed louder. I aimed. It pushed the lid off with its bleeding claw. Out came what was left of a man. A gray skull with a purple beard. He raised his lacerated hands but couldn't stand. Tabe shined a light in. He gagged on air. He croaked. I kicked the lid off. The man hung over the edge, wishing he was a corpse. Inside the altar were 2 more broken bodies. No heads. Their shoulders were sewn into the first man's legless thighs.
an upside-down V of squirming skin. I tried talking to the poor soul, but he could only slam his chest into the altar's edge. He was kneading his ribs into his lungs. I shot him when he smashed his neck against the edge. Nogoth brought over a bottle of lighter fluid. Oko stayed back, but didn't stop aiming at his swinging head. We torched him with the match. His legs convulsed as they melted. Tabe retched.
Can you live without a head?
Nogoth whispered to me. I reloaded in the silence. Nogoth laid mines around the altar. Tabe collected himself. Oko peered into the adjacent rooms with her scope.
There's something in the kitchen,
she said. Nogoth tested the door with a rod. Unlocked. The body is never forever was painted on the kitchen ceiling next to unrecognizable scrawled symbols. The cultists ate with their eyes, watching heaven for God's impossible return. The sugary smell of sewage made me gag. They hadn't melted down the benches. They were full of needles, thin and purple. Oko pushed around a pile of rotting husks. Their table scraps.
Leave the fucking cacti,
Tabe said.
They're not supposed to be purple,
Oko said.
They're not ripe. It's a slow poison. A local anesthetic in small amounts.
There was nothing edible in the surrounding flat desert. The cult lasted on these cacti. And, given the collarbones jammed into the walls, each other as well.
Do you think it's a bigger honor to be a flame angel or a flesh giant?
Nogoth asked. I was tired of the questions. The bureaucrats would be grilling me tomorrow about the same horrible shit. Scared people asking too much of those who know too little. The ceiling grew tumors. We shot where it lurched. It swelled like it was being pumped full of mud. Shreds of ceiling tile pelted us. Dark masses thudded on the ground. These giants were complete, but their black stitches were uneven. Some stitches bunched together like a coiled noose. Other stitches were slashes, holding together scarred slabs. The giants could only charge, blindly. Tabe's fire sliced one in half, but both halves tore at him. It ripped off his left cheek. I'll never forget his hollow scream. Another burst from the floor, knocking me down. Oko fought off 3 arms using her rifle as a club. I couldn't see Nogoth, but I could hear her struggle. A giant tore off my helmet. I fired a line of gashes into its flexing torso. Its blood was black, with neon yellow flecks. It slammed its bodies down until its stitches split. I tried killing Tabe's giant, but it was using the right side of Tabe's skull to excavate his heart. I turned to Oko. She'd massacred her giant. More of it was writhing on the ground than standing. Oko used her free hand to throw flares. Nogoth's flailing leg kicked one toward me. I hurled it at her giant. The flare got caught in her giant's stitches. The sparks burned its cursed shell. Its 6 hands reached for the flare. One arm tore out another, but it dropped before it could quell the fire spreading up its back. Nogoth shoved it away. It crashed into Tabe's murderer. It tried licking the flames on its comrade's back, futilely. Oko and I pumped more lead as fire consumed the room. The grenades on Tabe's belt exploded. The kitchen filled with a thick, yellow fog. We crawled out the door. Nogoth and I built a barricade while Oko caught her breath on the ground. Nothing slammed against our barricade. Only yellow smoke drifted into the shop floor. I answered my question, Nogoth groaned. You can't live without a head. I would have ordered Nogoth to turn the place into the mouth of a volcano, if I didn't feel like I was freezing on a mountain's peak. Shivers expelled my coughs. The compound was on fire, but frost leaked from the garage. Nogoff placed C4 on it. 2 charges froze before she even backed away. At a safe distance, I dropped my shaking arm. Oko stared deep into her scope. Nogoff pushed the plunger. An explosion shouldn't be purple. Frozen fractals pierced everything. The ice shards had a magnetic pull. My head was yanked to the ground. Oko backflipped. She was lucky to land near the burning kitchen barricade.
My last mission. Fuck!
Nogoff sighed. Her legs were severed, like they were amputated by a dull katana. Her blood revived the dried puddles already on the floor. She began attaching explosives to her bleeding body.
Stop, Nogoff,
I said.
I'll crawl ahead,
she said.
It would be a waste to die, staring at this wretched ceiling.
Nogoff's last breath was hastened. Oko shot her before I could ease her suffering. The ice converged on her corpse like stained glass. I glared at Oko, but her rifle wasn't pointed at me. A grim blue aura emitted from her head.
Did you tell them we were coming?
I asked.
No. I don't know anyone here. I don't believe in becoming a freak for a master.
I got off the ground. She didn't expect me to aim at her. A world without faith in anything but retribution is a cold world.
You're going in first,
I said.
I don't care how good a shot you are. I will leave you as a snack for these monsters if you so much as look at me the wrong way. How can you have faith after everything you've seen? I'm not a believer. I just don't think everything was as bad as the government keeps.
Bullshit! Your belief has betrayed us. We inched into the garage. Oko's aura brightened like a rising sun. The walls were coated in purple ice. It was too cold to smell anything. The chamber shifted from freezing to boiling and back. Sweat pounded at my pores. Oko fell to her knees and grabbed her head.
Stop!
She cried. She slid across the floor like someone had kicked her. I lost my balance. The brain signals from my left eye were going to my right and vice versa. I couldn't trust any thought. My eyes wanted to flee their sockets. I held them in place with a damp hand. The cold air stabbed my lungs. Whittled hail filled me with each breath. I looked for Oko, but was frozen by what descended in front of me. A crooked trident was ushered in by 4 rusty chains secured in each wall. The prophet's arms were barbed on the points, his neck wrapped in a collar of pig iron. Nephil was smiling. I fired before waiting for his sermon. The bullets sank into his flesh, but clinked onto the ground like coins tossed in a dry well. He smiled wider. Underneath the crooked trident, Oko begged me for a merciful death. I did no such thing. A pure darkness is nothing to beg for. Nephil preached nothing. There was certainty in his faith. Oko's frantic pleas were shushed by the sharp sound of chain links tightening. She smashed her forehead into the floor. I didn't stop her. She'd created her own prison. The crooked trident split in 3. Its prongs were dragged towards the frozen darkness by the rusted chains. Nephil's body tore apart. His arms to the walls, his head yanked back. He didn't close his eyes. He didn't stop smiling, even when his neck was a bleeding mountain. He was dead. My mission was over. But Oko's skull kept cracking against the ground. The air somehow grew colder.
Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me before they're born again.
Oko choked. Again? Rebirth was impossible. Nephel's body was an arid canyon. But black blood spilled all over his tattered chest until it shone a light blue. I turned to flee, but the bright blood's light chained me to the ground. Oko's eyes flickered a matching blue. The hood of a purple robe rose from Nephel's shattered torso. The robe unfurled until it covered his body and pooled at the ground. Oko's entreaties ceased. Her gasps shortened into shallow clicks. The purple robe twisted around her body, breaking her into a thin rope. It raised its arms. Black, scaled dragon tails. I braced for the ceiling to crumble, but it merely swirled, like it was being threshed. It hacked at Nephel's body to free more bright blue blood. As more blood flowed, its face brightened like moonlight on an icicle. I couldn't see its eyes if it had them. On its forehead and cheeks were intersecting triangles. They pulsed like seizing lungs. I fired at them. Its blood crystallized into sharp green waves. I dropped all my grenades into the waves, which coagulated into jeweled masterpieces. When the crystals got thick enough, I kicked and kicked and kicked. The robe searched for me but kept splashing the blood around the room. The crystals rose into the air. It cursed me in an ancient tongue. It had killed all its believers, its power on Earth, and yet it blamed me. A thin dragon tail burst out of its chest. Its existing arms tried shoving it back in, but it was futile. The rebirth was a stillbirth. Its first breaths had been toxic. It howled through a maw full of broken black glass. The walls melted and burned. I breathed in steam and smoke. A scaly arm got entangled in a chain. The chain shrieked. The walls collapsed on us. No pain. Only darkness. I woke up under the rubble. The rescue team had no trouble finding me. I was buried under the only pile of debris not scorched. No bodies were found. The flames that had spared me devoured the only proof of my jagged memories. I lied my way through the debrief. One word of what I saw and I'd be shot quicker than Nogov. What I saw was a crack in my society that would never be filled, no matter how many squads we sent in. My new squad will proceed without me. They will never see the light blue crystal shards that are buried in my chest. Only I can see them. Only I can run into the desert. It's where the shards demand I go. I am a husk. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you especially to my author this week, Dan Dellechiaie. Remember, you can find links to Daniel's work and his social media in the show notes, as well as a link to Dug Up Magazine. Highly recommend you check them out. This was such a fun one to produce. I actually emailed Daniel to let him know that I was going to delay his story a couple weeks because I really wanted to get really in there with the sound effects. And at like the 15-minute mark about, it's probably a different minute now because of ads and the intro, but the 15-minute mark of the story itself, I think I spent 4 hours alone on that part, just doing I love sounds of metal and the fire and all of it. I just really appreciated the world that Daniel built, that he just drops us into, where religion is outlawed, and, this idea, the culmination at the end, where our protagonist confronts Oko and is like, why would you sacrifice Nogoth to a nothingness? And there's a big argument that could be made about that overall, about, religion, and how death isn't as much of a final outcome for people who are more religious, because they know, they believe in an afterlife. So therefore, do they see human life as precious as maybe they should, because they believe someone's going to a better place? And it's so fascinating, and I love discussions like that, and I love that this was wrapped in this disgusting world, and I mean that in the most complimentary way, Daniel, I promise. Anyway, I just really loved this story, clearly, and I hope you did as well. I was just talking to someone from my network, someone of the behind-the-scenes people, and we were discussing how I was explaining that I try to keep this show really eclectic, and how sometimes I try to choose stories sometimes. This one is not one of them, clearly, because I'm raving about it, but I even try to choose stories sometimes that aren't quite to my taste. Nothing I ever dislike, but sometimes stories that I wouldn't have naturally gravitated towards, because I want to keep the show fresher, and I don't want it just to be a curated document of stuff I like. I'm not an influencer. I'm not telling you what's in my bag or what I'm listening to at the moment. Of course I do that as well, but I want the show just to highlight different ideals and different talents and different worlds, and that live within different authors' minds. And I don't know, I've been thinking about that lately, and I hope that you all enjoy that I do that it's not, the show isn't very samey. At least that's what I aim for, is that every episode is a touch different, and it's not just the same thing every week. And I know we all have our preferences, but I feel like this has also, as an author, helped me expand my, my inspirations and my talents and things, because I don't just stay in my little corner of what I like. You never know what you're going to like if you stay with just what you think you like, and you discover, different things if you delve into things you don't think you're going to like. Does that make sense? I'm talking in circles. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to go. Baking corner. I didn't bake this week again. I didn't bake this week. Did I bake this weekend? Yes, you know what? I did bake last weekend when I was at my parents' house. Like I said, I did just make a boxed devil's food cake, and I made some buttercream frosting from scratch. My mom was like, when you're just craving a certain thing, she was craving a boxed Duncan Hines devil's food cake, and I totally get that. Sometimes you're craving a certain type of thing. So I made her a devil's food bundt cake with some buttercream frosting, and I used vanilla paste, so it had the little flecks. It was a really great buttercream frosting. That's one of my favorite cakes, is just a rich chocolate cake with a vanilla buttercream frosting. I love it so much. The key to a good buttercream frosting, in my opinion, is using enough salt. I think a lot of buttercream frostings, the reason they turn out, especially American buttercream, a lot of people find it way too sweet, and I understand, but I think a lot of times it's because, for one, you don't cream your butter long enough to get it fluffy before you add all your other ingredients. Two, you don't then beat it with the powdered sugar for long enough, so you end up with something grainy. You've really got to... The powdered sugar box says you can have buttercream in 5 minutes. That is true. Go way longer than that, because it'll make it much creamier. And every buttercream recipe, I don't use a recipe anymore, but if you are getting new into baking and new into buttercream, add more salt. than the recipe tells you. I actually use salted butter and I add salt. So, salty girl, I don't know. But that's my advice if you don't like an overly sweet American buttercream. Or just make a different type of buttercream. But American buttercream is just so easy. It's so easy. So it's so tempting to make, you know? So there you go. Those are my little baking corner tips for the week. And I don't know what else. Let's see. Go check out some of my other ventures. I've been having so much fun on the Lady Killers. Go check out the Lady Killers if you want to hear me discuss movies at length. I think the most recent episode that came out is we talked about Hostel 2. And of course, the Bloody Disgusting podcast, always there for you. Well, except actually this last week because we took a hiatus week, which was my fault because I went out of town. And yeah, but there's lots of episodes of that. Go check out Lady Killers. Oh, and I got to interview Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira, back in January with my buddy Michael Rothman from the Losers Club and Halloweenies. And that video is actually up on the Bloody Disgusting YouTube channel. So if you'd like to see a video of me interviewing Elvira, then it's there for the taking. It is there for the watching, not the taking. You can't take it. You can watch it though. So yeah, go check that out. And I believe that's all. I ask you to spread the good word of this show. Please tell your friends, post about it on Reddit. Reddit is, of course, it's like the town square of the internet. So, please tell people about it on Reddit and all the other social medias as well. And what else? There was one more thing. Oh, my ads. By the way, especially if you're listening on Patreon, I have a Smalls ad right now. The link is in the show notes. Please click on it. Even if, please support my show if you have any inkling to use Smalls or any of the products I ever post about or ever talk about on my show. Please use my links. It helps me so much. It helps out so much. And I think it might even help if you just click on the link or go to the link. I think it helps. I don't know, but it couldn't hurt, So if you could just click on the link if you're interested in that. I don't want to ever force you or pressure you into buying anything. I truly love this product. I have said no to many things before. I've said no to many different ad deals and brands before. So I am discerning when it comes to what I advertise on the show. So please consider using me if you want to use that particular brand. This week is Smalls. And if you're not, then if you just click on the link real quick just to let them know, hey, because they track the ads. They track this stuff. Isn't that crazy? The future. It's the future, and they have stuff. If you look it up, it's all crazy. If you want to get into podcasting, you should research that ad tracking. It's a whole thing now. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for listening. Go get some sleep. Sweet dreams.
Today, I met the love of my life. Her name is Juniper Sumac.
She seemed kind of off to me.
Why would you think that? Tell me.
It's her eyes. They're just so dark. I feel like she was going to eat me or something.
I get that a lot.
Hell really broke the mold. They released her.
And she is everything.
Something's amiss at Juniper's house. Available everywhere this Valentine's Day.